Hi, everyone. I'm Nazi Hamidi. I'm one of the founding partners of the CMO Syndicate. Thanks for joining me. If you're here today, it's likely because you have a growth problem in your business and you're curious about what some better ways are to improve that situation. So today I'm going to go through and leave you with some worksheets and tools on how to look at different levers, particularly around pricing, that will help you with growth in your business. So let's dive in, shall we? Classic growth problem. And we've all had this problem in our businesses in different stages in our careers. But if you're the CEO and you're looking at your team and your products and you're thinking, why do I continue to have this growth problem? My profits are stalled year after year in spite of great product portfolio. I have high demand for my products. My customers rave about them. They're almost best in class, or they are best in class products. Marketing team, I've finally grown from having just the person who does trade shows only and a little bit of Marcom to having a full-fledged marketing team and one that actually generates real leads, high value leads for the sales team. And then the sales team themselves, well, they're pretty fabulous, aren't they? They've been around for 20 plus years. They have deep customer relationships. And we all know, especially in the industrial B2B space, how important the sales team emphasizes their deep relationships are. And there's truth to that. But what's the problem? Have you allowed pricing to be the job of only the sales team? Do you view pricing to be transactional? Does anybody actually own pricing analytics in your organization? Or are you just assuming that your VP of sales is taking care of that? Do the folks who look at the analytics, do they understand pricing science? And are they looking at it from a holistic standpoint or just on a single transaction basis for maybe the top key accounts? I've seen that movie before. And does your organization really understand which levers have the greatest impact on profit and growth? Or is that understanding kind of capped at only the C-suite? Let's dive in a little bit deeper and see what some things are that you can consider. How about these objections from the sales team? Have you heard these before? And these are just a handful of what I've heard throughout my 25 plus year career in the specialty chemicals and materials space. Things like, oh, Nazi, do you understand? If we raise that customer's price, they're going to walk for real, right? We've all heard that one. Or the objection around discounts. I have to offer discounts to customers in this segment. If I don't offer discounts, we'll lose the business. All of my competition offers discounts. We have to do that to remain competitive. Or my favorite, don't worry about the discounts or the rebates, the terms. It's all, those are just details. Any impact that has on profit, don't worry about it. We'll make up for it plenty in volume. I have this great rebate structure that I put in place for my customer, and they're going to buy so much more than they've ever bought before from us. And so we're going to make up for it. Don't worry about those rebates. Or the other one that's always fun to hear, especially from your sales team who's been calling on these customers for 20 plus years. Hey, Nazi, I know this customer in this market segment better than anyone. Trust me, the pricing is exactly where it needs to be. And then, there's objections galore, but what it boils down to often is if you are listening to those loud voices from your sales team and only from your sales team, you can be dissuaded to turn your focus away from pricing and to look at other things like having manufacturing reduce costs and spending a lot of effort there, having supply chain negotiate better deals with raw material suppliers and spending, again, a lot of effort there. Or my favorite is when the sales team says, how about if marketing and R&D just gets their act together on the innovation process and comes up with better products that we can offer as next generation that meet customer unmet needs, the kind that no other competitor has. We need to do a much better job around innovation, right? These are all things that we've heard. And it's not to say that we shouldn't focus on these other things, but I'm often amazed at how quickly CEOs dismiss the idea that we should tackle pricing. Pricing should be one of the first levers that we look at. Now let's analyze why. There are some levers that have more impact than others. And if you look at, say, a 1% increase in price versus a 1% decrease in cost versus a 1% increase in volume, all other things being equal, of course, you're going to find that price, hands down, is always going to have the greatest impact on profit. There have been lots of studies that look at this again and again, time and again. Anybody who's ever done an MBA program or even just has run a business knows this to be true. And you, the CEO, knows this to be true. So let's make sure that your team knows this to be true as well. So I have put together for you a little worksheet comparison that you can download and go through with your team, or make them sit down and go through the exercise. It's simple math. That's all it is. Here's an example of that, and let's take a look. So I have developed a base case of Acme Manufacturing, and just for a little drama, instead of doing 1% changes, I've done 3% changes versus the base case. So varying just one thing at a time, whether it's a 3% change in price versus the base case, or a 3% decrease in variable costs versus the base case, 3% change in volume, right? That's something that salespeople get really excited about. And sometimes the entire organization can get excited about that. And we'll talk about discounts in a minute. But if you just look at, say, your base case of, I'm making 100,000 units, I'm selling them for $10 a unit, I've got $1 million in sales. Let's pretend for a moment we're not offering any discounts, and so my net sales is still $1 million. If I take into account the total cost, say fixed costs are $250,000, my variable costs are $650 per unit, my total costs are $900,000. The net sales minus the total cost is going to give you this gross profit. And the gross, on a margin basis, you're making about 10% gross profit margin. Well, if you would just increase the price, you can do the math, run through this. You can significantly increase the number of gross profit dollars, but also increase that gross profit margin, which is often hard to do. Now compare this particular case to what would happen if you, instead of focusing on price as your lever, just focused on cost. And I'm going to go with just variable costs for the sake of argument. Often it's very difficult to remove fixed costs from a business. And the thing that we can most impact is the variable costs. So if I were to change variable costs by 3% savings, look at the difference in terms of the profit. All right. So not as high of an impact as that same percentage change in price. And then go through and continue to do this with each of your levers. Let's look at volume as a lever. If all we do is increase volume by 3%, what kind of impact does that have down here in profit? Less of an impact, right? And then my favorite thing is people like to just kind of ignore and say, oh, it's in the details, the discounts, the money that we will readily give away around price. And that's back up here, right, in the discount area. So let's say it's between discounts and maybe payment terms, which I'm not even factoring into this spreadsheet, just discounts alone, that we knock off 3% on the selling price. What happens to profit? Well, look, if I started with my base case at around no discounts and a 10% margin business, look what happens when I offer just 3% discount on price. my profit becomes much lower, and it's only a 7-ish percent margin business. So that's a big deal. And then this doesn't even factor in rebates that might be offered for volume, payment terms that are also essentially bringing a hit to your price. So there's a lot that is given away in terms of discounts, rebates, payment terms. Don't be fooled that these are just in the details and they don't actually matter. They matter a lot. So, what I have for you, if you want to teach your team how to look at different levers, I have a downloadable worksheet where you can go through and put in your own base case and then play around with what you want to change and look at what the impact is. Now, hopefully, your sales team is already doing this. Your sales and marketing team are collaborating together to look at pricing analytics. But this is something that's hugely important and often overlooked. There are so many times that I see businesses who are very reluctant to do anything around price. And I guarantee you there's lots of data, lots of proof, lots of case studies that show 1% increase in price is going to have a much better and more impactful, be more impactful to gross profit at the end of the day and the bottom line of your business than 1% change in cost, 1% change in volume, and that's not even taking into consideration all the discounts that we just give away. So take that and do what you may with it. Give us a call or drop me a note here. I'm happy to discuss more with you. If you'd like to teach your team how to do this, this is really business finance 101. And I have in coming weeks much deeper information to go into a little bit more detail around some different pricing methodologies and other ways that you can look at the business and how you can apply different pricing. So I hope this helps you. Have a great day, and let's go grow that business. Thanks.